Welcome to episode 65 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the tales of Troy with the story of the Argives send Priam a message. While the Achaeans were thus preparing for war against Troy, Agamemnon, in an assembly of trusted friends and leaders of the people, resolved first to try peaceful means, to send ambassadors to King Priam to protest the breach of laws and the rape of an Argive queen, and demand the return of Helen and the treasures of Menelaus. The council elected Palamedes, Odysseus, and Menelaus to go on this mission, and though in his heart Odysseus was bitterly hostile to Palamedes, still, for the sake of the common good, he agreed to defer to the wisdom of this prince, famed throughout the host of Greece for his insight and experience, and did not dispute his right to speak for them at all of the courts of Priam. The Trojans and their king were dumbfounded at the arrival of such messengers aboard ships so large and splendid. They were utterly ignorant of the cause of their coming, since Paris was still on the island of Crani, and had not been heard from in Troy. Priam and his people could not believe that the Trojan warriors, who had set out to support Paris in his demand for Hesian, must have met with powerful resistance, that they had been destroyed, and that now the Argives, grown arrogant, had crossed the sea to attack the Trojans in their own country. And so, the news that envoys from Greece were approaching the city made everyone taut with suspense. The gates, however, were flung wide, and the three princes were at once conducted to the palace of Priam, and led before the king, who had summoned his numerous sons and the heads of the city to the council hall. Palamedes began to speak in the name of all Greece, complained bitterly of the shameful breach of hospitality which Paris had committed by carrying off Helen. Then he pictured the dangers of war which this disgraceful action might bring on Priam and his people, and enumerated the great princes of Greece who would come to Troy with countless warriors on more than 1,000 ships, and demand the return of their captured queen. "You do not know, O king," he concluded, "the kind of men your son has offended by what he has done. They are Danae, who would die rather than suffer an insult on the part of a stranger to go unavenged. But in coming to avenge this wrong, they do not intend to die, but to carry off the victory, for their numbers are as the sands in the sea. All have the courage of true heroes, and burn to blot out the disgrace inflicted on their country by destroying the cause of it. That is why our commander-in-chief, Agamemnon, king of mighty Argos, and foremost prince of all Greece, and with him all the other princes of the Danae, bids me to say to you, return the queen you have stolen from us, or all of you shall perish." These words of defiance angered the king's sons and the elders of Troy. They drew their swords from the scabbard and struck blade against shield, full of lust for battle. But King Priam ordered them to be quiet, and rose from his seat and said, "Strangers, you who have come in the name of your people, and heaped much reproaches on me, first let me recover from my astonishment. For we know nothing of what you accuse us of. Rather do we think that we are entitled to complain of just such an evil deed as you claim we have committed. It was your countryman Heracles who attacked us in the midst of peace. From our city he carried off Hesian, my innocent sister, and gave her as a slave to Telamon. It is only due to the goodwill of that prince that he made her his lawful wife instead of keeping her as a servant or a concubine. But this is not enough to make up for dishonesty and rape. We have sent envoys to you before. Now my son Paris left for your country to demand the return of my sister, so that I might rejoice in her in my old age. How Paris has carried out my royal command, what he has done, and where he is, these things I do not know. But I am wholly certain that there is no Argive woman in my palace or in my city. And so even if I wanted to, I could not give you the satisfaction you ask. Should my son Paris return to Troy safely, as his father ardently hopes. Should he bring with him an Argive woman he has abducted, she shall be delivered up to you, unless she is a fugitive, and as such implores our protection. But even then, you shall have her only on one condition, that you bring her back to me from Salamis, my sister, Heshon, so that I may clasp her in my arms." The council of Trojans applauded the words of their king, but Palamedes spoke again, and his words were both angry and arrogant. "The granting of your request, O king, can depend on no condition whatsoever. You believe your words, which assure us that the wife of Menelaus has not yet arrived within these walls, but she will. No doubt of it. It is unfortunately only too true that your unworthy son has carried her off. As for us, we are not responsible for what Heracles did in our father's time, but we do demand satisfaction from you for a wrong perpetrated by one of your sons in our day and our age. Heshon went with Telamon of her own free will, and she herself is sending her son Prince Ajax to this war, which is imminent unless you make amends. But Helen was carried off against her wish. Give thanks to the gods who have given you respite through the tearing abroad of that robber Paris, and come to the decision which will ward destruction from you and yours." Priam and the Trojans were vexed almost beyond endurance by the insolent speech of Palamedes, but they observed the courtesy due to envoys. The assembly adjourned, and one of the elders of Troy, wise Antenor, son of Arsaces, and Clytemnestra, escorted the foreign princes to shield them from the insults of the crowd, conducted them to his house, and lodged them there with perfect hospitality until the following morning. Then he accompanied them to the shore, where they boarded the shining ships which had taken them to Troy. And here's where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.